there, I'm Amy.Connell. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and enjoy a little chocolate. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. Throughout the month of December, I'm doing something a little different. I am spending time over on Instagram going live with 8 honorable mentions as an addendum to my book, Your Worthy Body. So if you have been with me for a while, you know that I just released a book called Your Worthy Body, Find Freedom and Health by Breaking All the Rules in November. And in it, it has 22 rules to break. These are rules we've possibly and probably heard about our health that oftentimes don't necessarily motivate us or inspire us in the way that they are intended to. And in fact, they can create shame surrounding our health. And so I am trying to break this mindset, change our mindset about our body, our food, our movement, how they all work together. I'm offering these addendums live on Instagram, but then I wanted to take them and give them to you because I know some of my community, and this may include you, only connect here through your ears, through podcasts. And I know that because that's how I am with a lot of the people I like to connect with. I don't necessarily go back and forth on Instagram or Facebook or certainly not Twitter. I'm hardly ever over there, but I love connecting on the podcast. So I am doing what I call being kind to my future self. And I wanted to continue showing up in December. And I'm also wanting to ease up a little bit in my own responsibilities and my output. So for the month of December, I am taking these Instagram lives and replaying them here on the podcast. Of course, if you have not gotten your copy of Your Worthy Body, then I have a link in the show notes below. You can certainly go get that. And let me tell you, get one for your sisters, get one for your Bible study friends, get one for your book club friends, get one for the girls you go out to dinner with, because this is who it is for. It is for the sisterhood of women who are ready to change their mindset. Okay, let's jump in. Hey there. How is everybody today? Okay, I am coming on for part 3 of this 8-part series of honorable mentions to my book, Your Worthy Body. So if you remember, and if you've been with me, you know that Your Worthy Body is an opportunity to break some of the fitness rules we have heard in various ways, whether it's about our body or about our movement or eating. And today I wanted to focus on an honorable mention, a rule to break that I have seen over and over and over. And sometimes I think we take this a little too, maybe it's just a little too close to heart, and maybe we don't really think through the words. And so those words are, now don't hate me here, don't hate me, but those words are don't quit, or never quit, or never, ever, ever give up. There is I think it was Winston Churchill who said that. And my dad will often quote me that when we are watching my Oklahoma State football team, because those guys never, ever, ever give up. And I tell you what, they are like a third quarter, fourth quarter team. Never doubt Mike Gundy in the second half. And they are such an epitome of never giving up, never quitting. And oftentimes that really pans out well in the end, especially this season, except a little bit of a heartbreak at the end, but I'm not going to go there. But what I want to talk with you some about today is this concept of don't quit as it relates to your movement and your fitness. You know, I am a big believer in finding movement that is joyful, that you enjoy doing, and that you will keep coming back to. I'm never going to be one to tell you like, this is how you have to move. This is how you have to, get your exercise in. There are absolutely some studies, some research that shows really beneficial ones, particularly for different ages. I'm a woman over 40. So I know as a woman over 40 that I should be strength training, that 2 to 3 high intensity interval trainings a week is really helpful. But does that mean that that's what I have to always do? Absolutely not. And I think that this concept of don't quit doesn't give us the empowerment to pivot or possibly to change what we've been doing and make it work for us. I used to do a lot of half marathons, never done a marathon. I've never felt like that was something I wanted to do, but I used to do a lot of running, and I love running. I love half marathons. I love the race environment. And I finally realized that that just was not working for my body. And even though I love the feeling of running, it was not translating well, particularly to my hips. And so I very rarely run for endurance anymore. I have this agreement with my body where I run for endurance and I sprint for the intensity and for fun because I like feeling that way. So some might say, well, that was quitting running and quitting in marathon or half marathons. I don't know why I keep saying marathons, but that was quitting that. I beg to differ. It was really an analysis of what my body needed, an assessment of how I was changing, and an acceptance of allowing myself, I'm doing a lot of A's alliteration here, but allowing myself to move to something different. I think sometimes when we get caught up in this is what I do, and this is my schedule, and this is how I exercise, that we forget that there are other ways to move. And there are other ways that we can move our body in a way that helps it stay either flexible or heart conditioned or stress relieving or however it is and whyever it is that you move. There are a lot of different ways of doing that. So in my opinion, if we pivot from something or divert from something, then that's not quitting. I just out of curiosity, because this is something I do, I did a lot for my book, is I went to the definition. I'm like, let's go talk about what quitting actually is. So in the Merriam-Webster online, it gives a couple different definitions. One of them is give up. So there's a couple different scenarios of that, like you quit a job or you quit smoking. So those kind of have two different types of giving up. But another one that I found interesting was to leave the company of, or to depart from or out of. When we depart, when we leave the company of, we have somewhere else we're going. So we're making a decision to not do one thing, to not be somewhere and go somewhere else. I think that's important to realize and to remember that this is something we can do with our fitness as well. With the new year coming up, a lot of us are thinking about, and me included, like, okay, how am I going to move my training schedule? My schedule kind of changes about 3 times a year. So at the beginning of the school semester, at the beginning of the year, and then summer is always its own little schedule. So I'm looking at my schedule at the beginning of the year, and I'm thinking, okay, well, how am I going to move? What am I going to keep doing? What am I going to maybe transition, depart from, or leave from and do something else? And that is actually scientifically based as something positive to do with our fitness. The formal definition of that is periodization. So that is basically, like the layman's terms of this is just switching things up. And you can switch things up in a lot of different ways, but I actually talk about it in chapter, what chapter is it? The title is called There's One Right Way to Exercise. This is chapter 18. And periodization is dividing a training program into smaller stages, often intentionally changing workouts after an established period. And I actually go on in the book to talk about how Tony Horton really popularized this in P90X with the whole muscle confusion. If you've ever done any of his programs, you may have heard of that. Muscle confusion is simply periodization. The great thing about periodization is it takes your body into a more uncomfortable zone where it has to relearn what you're asking it to do. The great thing about this from an effectiveness standpoint is your body is not as efficient. We get really good at the things that we do over and over and over. That is a survival mechanism from years and years and years ago, because we needed to be able to conserve energy when we did not have Snickers bars at Office Depot waiting for us to purchase. Who needs Snickers bars at Office Depot? I'm just saying. Anyway, I divert. I will quit that. But our bodies are designed to be really, really efficient. When we take ourselves out of that efficiency zone and maybe we pivot, we do something else, we quit what we were doing and do something else, then our bodies have to work harder to put themselves back together. They have to work harder to perform whatever it is that you are asking it to do. And guess what? That can increase your metabolic rate if that is something that is you're concerned about, which is basically your metabolism. Your metabolic rate is your metabolism. And that can provide a greater opportunity for you to get stronger because, again, your muscles are like, wait, what? We're doing this? Oh, okay. And so they have to work harder to do it. Well, guess what? That can result in increased gains. So there are a lot of different ways of periodization, and I do talk about that in the book. But what I really want you to know is if you have been doing something for all of 2021 and you're just kind of going through the motions with it, and this is what you do because this is what you do, it's okay for you to consider and actually do something different. And I know that that can be complex because if you've been going to the same gym all the time and those are your people and that's your community, you may not want to leave it. But maybe is there a different class that you can try? Maybe it's a different instructor. We all lead and coach different ways. So you don't have to leave your community. I get it. Those are your people. They are dear to you. But maybe just try a different coach or instructor. Maybe just try a different type of class. Maybe it's time to focus more on your lower impact stuff and work on your mobility and your yoga and your breathing and your stress reduction in that way. Or maybe it's time to take up the intensity and, hey, maybe let's talk about doing a 5K this year. Something like that. So you're not quitting if you're pivoting, and I don't want there to be this shame about, oh gosh, I don't do that. I used to run half marathons and now I don't anymore. It's not shame. It's not quitting. It's actually just allowing yourself to do something different. So that is my honorable mention for Your Worthy Body. It did not make it in. The concept of periodization did make it in, but we didn't talk about quitting. And I do think it's an important thing to discuss as we continually assess what's right for us right now. Because what's right for me right now as a 47-year-old is probably different than as a 57. And I know it's different than when I was 37. For one thing, I just don't run as much as we discussed. Okay, I'll sign off just like I do on all of my podcasts. That's all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.